many amendments? Yeah, because this one here, okay, there must be an amendment. Okay, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievance. So they can't make laws about religion. They can't block you. This is why the affidavit is written in the way it is. The right of the people to be secure in their papers, effects against unreasonable search and seizures shall not be violated. No warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath of affirmation. So when they took your passport, they seized that without a warrant and due process. And it is looking for the it's better when you look at the state's constitution. What state are you in, brother? The guy with the
Illinois.
big tax for the $1 million dude, huh?
Illinois.
Illinois. Illinois. See how easy that was to pull that up? So let's move over here. All men are nature free and independent and have certain inherent and inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So they can arbitrarily take your right to travel out of the country. How is that being free? And this is inalienable rights, meaning they can't make any rules to take that away from you. It's inalienable. Anybody can tell me what inalienable means? Like the definition? How do you spell that? Inalienable.
Short version is
Huh?
can't be. I say the short version is can't be taken away from you. Period. Cannot be alienated from you. Your rights. Your
Unable, there it is,
God-given
right here.
Constitution.
It's unable to be taken away from or given away by the possessor. They can't take it away. So that means no matter what law they make, they can't do it. All right? Doesn't matter. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor be denied the equal protections of the law. So without due process, how is it due process when the IRS can send a letter to somebody and say, don't give them a passport? They didn't give you due process, brother. Right there on the spot.
How and where do we challenge the fact that they didn't give us due process?
How you go to the very agency that took it away from you, you can take them to court and sue them in the federal district court. People have done it. They've done it the wrong way, but they have. There's a lot of case law on it. If you go into federal court and you challenge them saying it's against your religion for them to do that to you, and you also use the due process clause, you will win. Because the one thing they can't argue about is your religious freedoms. They can't even talk to you about it. They can't even ask, what religion is that? They can't do it. They become mute the minute you start talking about religion. So you have to go to either sue them in court. That might be with a brother with $1 million because he's already been down this road. We might have to go to district court and sue the State Department for denying him his passport. I don't think it'll go that far, but because I've never had to go that far, but we need to be prepared to go that far. Because they got to show you how it is constitutional for them to just arbitrarily say you owe me money. Who says that debt is correct? And the way I fight the IRS, I never say I don't owe them anything. I just say, well, prove to me I owe you and I'll pay you. And they never can. So I think I got sidetracked by somebody. This is what I wanted to say. You need to challenge, if you have a tax debt, you need to be challenging it now before you apply, because you want to use their responses against them. And their response is simply going to be, I need 60 days to get back to you. And then after 60 days, they don't even respond. They don't even answer. Because what you're going to do is say, I took this letter to them, challenging it. They said they need 60 days. It's been more than 60 days. And they still have not certified this debt is true and correct. No one has come forth to stand under oath to say that these numbers are right. And that's how you beat them. You get them to swear under oath that the numbers are right, which they will never do. See, when you went to court, the reason why they said they didn't have jurisdiction, because they didn't have a competent fact witness to testify for them. You know the court works for them because it's their court. So they're never going to sit there and say, well, you know, the reason you should win by default every time. Because the person who's arguing against you is not the one who even looked at the taxes. And then again, no one ever looks at the taxes. It's a computer. So how do you vet a computer? That's why all IRS debt can be challenged and it's false, because there's no one to say it's accurate. The only way they get you is because you filled out a statement and said under penalty of perjury is correct. So they go off what you say, and they use that against you. That's their competent fact witness. You. So that's why more people get in trouble by doing tax returns than not doing them, because they can't use that person's signature against them.
What if they file one for you?
Then you challenge that. Hey, how do you know what the hell's going on here? You challenge it. Whoever's certified, who's going to say that their numbers is correct? That's even better. Oh, okay, you did that? Come on in. Let's go to court and prove your numbers is correct. They will never come in under oath and swear that number is correct, because they can't.
Again, can I say something?
Yeah.
You gave us a thick folder a while back with all of the laws pertaining to the IRS. One of the laws in there says that when the IRS, when they correspond with you, it has to be made under the penalty of perjury. We got the whole folder that you gave us.
Yeah, but
and they're not responding. Right, they never do.
And they never do, and they never answer you, so that's how they get around it. So that's how come you could go to court and beat them, because, and that's why when you go to tax court, they always say they don't have jurisdiction. So if they don't have jurisdiction, and that's tax court, then that means the IRS doesn't have jurisdiction to even tax you.
Right.
Because that's tax court.
Okay,
right?
let me
So
explain what the person. What I did is I didn't pay the fee or use their form, and the court told me that they didn't have jurisdiction without that, and they gave me 60 days to do it, and I didn't do it. I put in a request to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction, and the court turned around and dismissed on lack of jurisdiction on their venue.
Because
That's
you didn't
basically
pay
what
the
happened.
fee? They specifically said you didn't pay the
Yes.
fee. That's why. Okay. I know that method all too well. I tell people to pay the fee, but when they do it with their postal order and put redeeming lawful money on it.
What does that do?
You're not giving them fiat currency to do it. You're telling them redeem this in lawful money. So now you're dealing with actual money or actual currency. See, the reason why they want you to pay the fee because that gives them jurisdiction over you. But see, you've never done my method with how I submit the paperwork. I have a tax lawsuit, and I know that method you're doing. I know that method like the back of my hand, and a lot of people have met the same fate you have because they didn't do the fee because the guy who taught it said don't pay the fee. Right? Am I correct? Hello?
Yes,
Yes, he told you not to pay
yes.
the fee. Then later on, after some years of teaching that, he changed that and said, "Oh, go ahead and pay the fee." Right? Now, I've gotten around the fee by simply using the Constitution. Depending on the state you're in, it says specifically that your right to go take someone to court should be done without sale, or to address your grievances. And they've let that go through because I showed in the Constitution. Like when the judge said pay the fee, they sent a little time frame for you to pay it. I responded with objection, and here's why. And I used the Constitution, and they let it go through. But not every state has that in their Constitution, so it doesn't work on every state. Works in states like Colorado and a couple other states. Yeah, very familiar with what you did. But you can't win it the way he does it because you're taking their paperwork and readjusting it, and he's just telling you to challenge certain years. Mine's is a lot different, and it actually got one guy he got money back, like $27,000 last year. They gave him his money back. They had him in the lock-in letter. Yeah. So we need to talk to me in the private about that. I want to kind of stay with this passport thing. All right.
Yo, what's up? Check my mic. Sounds like it's working. Oh, hold on over here. All right, it's June the 3rd, 3 days into June. And I hope everybody's doing okay. Summer's starting off well. So, I think that was IRS Webinar 3 I was playing, if I'm not mistaken. National Passport IRS. That's the webinar I did. And showing you how to get your passport regardless of whether you got IRS debt, child support debt. It's a National Passport IRS webinar. Hang on. It's just interesting how people just like, as soon as you start something, people start texting. And I was sat here for like a good over an hour setting up a trust, even practicing my guitar, and no interruptions. Now, as soon as I start doing my show, everybody like ding, 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 ding. It's just strange how that happens. So this coming Saturday, June the 7th, I'm doing a counter deed webinar to show you how to use these counter deeds in order to destroy these public records, right? Remember I read the definition of counter deed last week. It's a private document written in private that destroys a public one. I'm not going to pull a definition out right now. So that is June the 7th, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I sent an email out. It's on my website. Go sign up. If you sign up by tomorrow, it's going to be $197 for it. If you go past tomorrow, it's going to be $297. The reason why the fee is this high is because the information is powerful. And plus, over the last couple of days, I got some more information that I'm going to add to that will, I just want to say this: all the stuff our ancestors did, like our grandmothers, the things how they used to store their documents, was the truth. This artificial system told us to do this and do this and better do this. Take your money to the bank and do this and that, just to keep them in business. And the more we trusted the system's way of doing things, we got away from what our ancestors taught us to do. And the things that our ancestors were doing take precedent. Think about accounting. It's a secret writing in private that destroys a public one. And there's another term someone introduced me to yesterday, and I looked at it. It's basically the same thing, but it's going to be taught this coming Saturday. So I suggest you get on, and you're going to know how to use it. Now, with this webinar, the recording is not going with the webinar, but the templates are. If you want the recording, you would have to pay extra for that. I haven't determined what that fee is going to be for the recording yet. Anywhere from $50 to $100 extra, so you could have it. And if anybody have a problem with that, why I don't give the recording, I didn't. I just started recently doing the recordings with the webinars, but you go to the movies, you watch it, you pay one time, and that's it. You're done. So if you want that recording for your library, you pay for it. Pay for the recording. So that's Saturday. That's when I'll be doing it. But speaking of, I want to read something, because I got Counter D too, and this is on topic, right? The topic of this year is immigration, and they're trying to make some changes to the naturalized. If you're born or naturalized in the United States, you become a birthright citizen. But if you understand what citizenship really is, all of that stuff is smokescreen, right? Because a lot of the immigrants that are having children over here, I'm not going to call them illegal aliens and stuff like that, because if I got to call them illegal aliens, I got to call all of those colonizers that came over here, just showed up over here, and now they want to say this is our home. They did the same thing, and now when certain people of color do it, it's a problem. But and to tell you the truth, all of the ones that are coming over here, if you're coming from Mexico or any of those Central America, this was originally their home anyway. They have connection to this land. This is North America, right? So birthright. So if a person who gets over here without documentation, and they have a child in the United States, as they put it, they automatically become a citizen. So let me just help you understand what's really happening, right? If you have a child in a state-run hospital, and then you decide to get a birth certificate, it's not the living child. It's not the living child, like the actual flesh and blood divine being, that's the citizen. The citizen is the documentation that they create, the birth certificate. That's the citizen. First, it's a county citizen, right? Then it becomes a state citizen. Then once it goes to get a Social Security card, it becomes it becomes a federal citizen. This is why count IDs are important, right? We got to create something that destroys that. And yes, you can do this as an adult. You can. So you got to create a count ID. But I want to show you the 14th Amendment real quick. To help y'all understand something. Because with birth certificates, what does the Secretary of State want to see to give you a passport? They want to see where you came from and what classification they're going to put you in. You're going to be seen as a U.S. citizen of the United States, a U.S. national, American national, state citizen. And just to help you understand, you could choose to be whatever you want. It's like there's some people who want to be state citizens, state nationals. I don't agree with that. Then they talk about the republic, this, that, and the republic of this, and Texas and things like that. That's all true. But the superior status is the American national. Because what does American national cover? North, South, Central Americas. If I'm gonna call I'm gonna cover, and I'm gonna call myself something. I'm gonna make sure I'm identified as something that's not included in their tax code. I tell you guys all the time. Read the tax code, read the tax forms. On the IRS form, it specifically tells you who it is for. Okay? And how they hang you up is to get you to be that person. I've shown you this stuff, the W-9. You go to the job, you fill out a W-9, it says you're certifying to be a U.S. person. Right? You're certifying yourself to be that. Why do they, if you're automatically these things based on what the 14th Amendment says, why do they need you to check off these boxes all the time? To say who you are. Because everything's by contract. And they reinforces the contract based off every time you fill out these, they make sure, are you a U.S. citizen? Are you this and this and that? Blah, 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 blah. I've shown you guys this before. Let's see. It's not what I want to show you. Let's see. Let's go secondary display. It says signature of U.S. person. And then right in there it says, I am a U.S. citizen or U.S. person defined below. Then it's defined, right? Definition of U.S. person for federal tax purposes. See, these are the definition for tax purposes. You are considered a U.S. person if you are an individual who is a U.S. citizen or U.S. resident alien, a partnership, corporation, company, association created or organized in the United States or under the laws of the United States, an estate other than a foreign estate or a domestic trust. Right? Then it describes who foreign people are. If you are a foreign person or a U.S. branch of a foreign bank that has selected to be treated as a U.S. person under regulations. So when you fill out this W-9 as is, you are saying you're a U.S. person. This is the certification. And this is what they make everybody fill out when they go get a job. So that's how come when you start to claim exempt on your stuff, you get problems. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Give me a second, yo. I'm gonna play something. I'll be right back.
Sure, there's nobody outstanding right there. All right, everybody's over there. Let's share the screen. All right. So this is the new application. First, before I go over this application, who has never seen me teach this before? Anybody in this call, in this class? Speak
I
up.
haven't. Yeah, I have not. I have not.
So it's two people in here that has never, ever been to my other things. Okay. Have you done the passport like I teach it?
I haven't done it at all.
Oh, okay. It's okay, Bay, and someone else. Who else was it?
Mr. Hooper.
Mr. Did you say Hooper? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, sorry, people that have never, who've been on it before. I gotta go over everything. I gotta go from top to bottom so they can understand what they're doing.
All right, sorry about that. Had to deal with something. All right, so W-9 form, you fill that out, you're a U.S. person. But they do have a provision in the code that you can do a substitute tax return. They have a provision. I mean, a substitute W-9. Here it is. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna show y'all. Let's see. Even I see one here's a New York substitute form, but when I look at it, let me show you this one. A substitute W-9. This is New York's substitute. They created this, but it always says request for taxpayer identification number. And when the IRS send you letters, they always say taxpayer. So you need to correct all of that. Now, when I look at the W-9, everything in a taxpayer identification and taxpayer. You're a taxpayer. They put all the information in there for you to be identified as this. So you have to, that's what they call a TIN, a taxpayer identification number. TIN, taxpayer. It should be EIN, employee identification number, or SSN if you're gonna use that. But I would never use that. But it is. You have to if you're gonna do a substitute, you have to correct this here. You got to correct these. And to tell you the truth, these W-9s, just so you know, they never go to the IRS. They never go to the IRS. They go into a file of the company's employee files. It's only given to the IRS if they do an audit, which almost never happens for these forms. Or if, say you put some number that doesn't match up within their system, they'll send something back for them to verify that. But these forms are just basically given to the entity so that they can use them to create the 1099s, like a W-2 or a 1099 NEC for contractors. And there you go. So let's read the 14th Amendment real quick. And I want to show you something. It says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges of immunities of citizens of the states, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Right? They say United States. We all know that where the United States resides. 10 miles square of the District of Columbia. $10 miles square. That's where it is. Now, if you are identified as one of those being born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, right? You are the individual or person, U.S. person that is subject to this. The Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation provisions of this article. So what they're saying that the group that's in control of all U.S. citizens is the appropriate Congress. The Congress. United States in Congress assemble. Remember when I read the what is the Articles of Confederation, it always refer to the United States in Congress assemble. So they say United States and then they say in Congress assemble. So the Congress has the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. So that means that anytime, if you're under this, even though the 14th Amendment is in the Constitution, and if you're identified as a United States citizen, a U.S. person, citizen of the United States, that the Congress can make any laws to enforce upon these particular people that are citizens or born into the United States. They are the boss. They are subject to whatever the Congress does. Okay? See something else. All right, there you have it. You must. I've heard, I've heard people. Oh, you can't just change your status just by some paperwork. No, it's not about changing your status. You always was a sovereign to the United States. It's about making your status known, because by popular opinion, everybody is considered a United States citizen by assumption. So what you're doing is rebutting those assumptions and making it known. That's all you're doing. Because if you don't rebut them, they're gonna what's gonna happen? They are going to assume you to be one of them. And if you're presenting any document that comes from their system, they're going to assume that. See, for many years, we were under the impression we need to do this with their document in order to prove something. But the counter deed, it changes that. Changes that. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? Y'all get what I'm telling y'all? That the counter deed is what you need? Your secret writing? And some of us has done stuff like that. Like, I got stuff filed in York County, Lamar County, Georgia. I'm just pulling out different paperwork. Let's see. I was like, oh, I did this. Let me see. Hang on. Like, this is something I did. This was a declaration of status, property, and obligation affidavit that I did. Like, I don't know if you can see that. There's the date. That's where it's recorded. Something I did a long time ago. I don't know if it's... There you go. And right there, I put divine spirit incarnate as man. Then I have my corporate seal on it. See? You might be able to see it. There. This was done in February 2020, so 5 years ago. Then I have my exhibits of my proper name. All right. This is before I even did the name change. Now, this is technically like a counter deed. This is like I accepted the birth certificate. This is Exhibit B, the affidavit of true and correct copy of originals. And then it was, of course, that went with their document. But see, this is, to me, was by including their birth certificate with this, it wasn't. I wouldn't do this now. Then a rescission of the surety. The guy who used to help us file these there in Lamar County, he left, or they made him resign. And if y'all look up my certificate of designation in New York, y'all can see that. I have a certificate of designation in New York. As you can see where I said right here where it was registered in New York. I'll pull it up if I can on the internet. Executor, general executor. And that's it. But we'll be talking about this on something like to this nature on the 7th. On the 7th. Yep. So it's important now that I more because someone did their own. Well, they didn't have to. They never got a marriage license, but they were able to get their wife naturalized or get a green card with their own authenticated marriage certificate, religious marriage certificate. That's the key right there. That's what you call separation of church and state. Right there. Let's see. Oh, somebody signed up. Some more people signed up for the webinar. That's good. Appreciate it. Listen, tomorrow's the last day that you're going to be able to get it for $197. Tomorrow's the last day. All right, I'm going to make this a short show because I got stuff to do. I've been running around all day. First of the month, it's always a little hectic for me. But I hope to see y'all on Saturday. All right. Let me see what I'm going to leave y'all with. Let's try this. Out of any state, they're the best. I've read them all. I've probably read about 25 different states. They're the best because they very specifically say in those constitutions, I'll be paying attention, Raquel, because you need this, things that most other constitutions don't say to help you win. So you guys get a traffic ticket. You get a parking ticket. What other tickets they give y'all here? Speeding tickets, red light tickets. Oh, that's a new one. Red light tickets. Oh, New York got probably more tickets than any other state that they give out. Although they have a great constitution, the city, New York City, is the biggest violator of constitutionally protected rights. Because they low tribunals, I wouldn't even call them tribunals, they administrative process for tickets is totally repugnant to the Constitution. And I'll show you in just one sentence what it says. One sentence. This is the New York Constitution. Can y'all read that?
Yes.
New York Constitution, so y'all can see it. Let me take that thing off there. And it's a long and extensive one.
It's a very long
It's
one.
one of the longest I've ever seen. But we're gonna concentrate on, see if I can see the heading, so you don't think it's Akeem's Constitution. You know, I gotta make people believe this. They be thinking New York State Constitution, and notice how it's styled. It's not all caps. And it's got its seal on it.
Does it matter if it's Constitution?
Now
for
let's
the
pay
state of
attention to
New York?
that seal, huh?
Sorry. Does it matter if it's Constitution for the state of New York or New York State Constitution?
Yes. Well, it doesn't really matter as long as, when it comes to a constitution, I don't care how they style it, as long as it has the rights that I need to use to protect myself. A lot of people, oh, you can't use this. No. You can use them all. And then sometimes you can use statutes, but in criminal cases, I very rarely will use a statute.
Yeah.
But it's about what it says more than the New York State or state of, because that is a
What it
republic.
contains.
That's a lot of people taught that, and I even taught that at one time. Till I realized it's not that so much. It's about what it says and how I can use it to protect myself. So let's pay attention to the seal right here. You know this is a Masonic. I don't know if you guys know what Masonry is. But that's a Masonic, there's some Masonic symbols in here. And can anybody tell me which ones are in there? They kind of infused into the image. Can't really tell. Unless you know Masonry. Right there. Boom, boom. Where else? That's a
Not an eagle?
no. It's a phoenix or it's another bird. It's a falcon.
Falcon.
And who else used the falcon? What other people before that used the falcon? The Egyptians. That's the falcon. When it goes both ways. And Tartaria did. That's a falcon. But what's the other symbol?
Okay, we got scales on the right. The sun.
That's part.
We definitely see some ships.
This right here. That sun is Masonic symbol.
It has a face.
But this is also, anybody got a money in their pocket?
That looks like a covered up pyramid,
That's a pyramid, but they made it mask it as a mountain.
which they do a lot.
But at the top, you'll see if it's the build, the pyramid at the top. It's yeah, the all-seeing eye is up there. But it's also, it's not so much all-seeing eye. That same image is pretty much the same, but it's what's shining behind it, which is the sun. See it? See the glow?
Yeah.
See it? That's it.
It's like a halo.
So they're telling you, all of this shows you what jurisdiction this state is living by. One is about justice, one is not. Two sides here to this coin.
It's like the devil and the
Yeah.
angel.
Yes. Yeah. That one's supposed to be justice is blind. I hear the facts, and we rule on what is the facts. The other one is opposite. I moved it somehow. And then those are, I think those are Latin terms. We're not gonna look that up, but let's go straight down. To the section I want to point out. I'll make this bigger as I get there, so y'all can see it. So we have, these are your rights, privileges, franchise, secure power of legislation to dispense with
primary elections in certain cases. Then number 2 is trial by jury, how waived. Number 3 is freedom of worship, religious liberty, habeas corpus. Anybody know what habeas corpus is?
To regain control of the body.
Right. And then usually they use that to release people from prison. Bails, fines, punishment, detention of witnesses, grand jury protection of certain enumerated rights, duty of public officers to sign waiver of immunity. They got a bunch of junk.